Welcome to New Realities and the Channeling Perspective. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and me and Justin Lance, who's here, do this program about every 2 weeks. And we always try to find new and exciting people to share what's happening in many, many levels and dimensions. We're also being joined by Sheila Seppi, who's the organizer of the Hybrid Conference. And I also want to welcome Marina, Seren back, and Gita Rose. So we'll just a little commercial before we start from the Hybrid Conference coming up. Why don't you tell people what's going to happen this weekend, Sheila?
Sure. SC, can I share screen?
I think I have to make you the co-host, right? Make co-host. Okay, you should. Okay, try that. Yes. Is that working?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is a little promo for the upcoming event this weekend. This is a hybrid conference. Yes, with some of our favorite people, right, Sheila?
Absolutely. We're really excited. We have, can you see the flyer?
Yes.
Are you able to see? Perfect. So yes, this is the first of its kind conference, and we're very excited that we're going to be bringing the hybrid perspective out to the public and let people kind of share their ideas and their experiences and what their knowing is. And we have 2 days set up starting this Saturday and Sunday. And on Saturday, we have Geraldine Orozco that will be starting us out, and followed by Maya Cristobal. Then we'll be having a sound healing video so that we can just allow all of the messages that we've received to kind of be integrated. And then Neil is going to share with us his perspective about all of the different hybrids in the various creation stories. We follow that with Barbara Lamb, who's going to be making a video presentation. And although she can't make it at that time, she will be with us that evening from 5 to 6 for the panel discussion. And after that, we're going to see some of the phenomenal art that Kamora Jones has. We then have Marie Rodwell, who will be kind of wrapping up our day for us. And all of the individuals will be participating in the panel, including Marina will be also joining us. So we're really excited about that. And then on day 2, we're going to start out with Phil Gruber. And Phil is going to talk about the hybridization program and how, from his perspective and knowing that things came to be. Then we have Rebecca Rose, and Rebecca Rose is not just a hybrid, but she is a contactee, and she's also been involved in the Secret Space program. Then we're going to drop into a little bit more sound healing and have some integration for about 30 minutes. From there, we go to Valeria Bruno, and Valeria is a neuroscientist who's going to share her story about becoming a hybrid and her memories of being in the womb and her mother volunteering for the program. Then we go to Jacqueline Smith, and Jacqueline also has in utero memories. And Jacqueline was taken on board a ship when she was just, I think she said about a month or two in utero, and she was injected with 7 varieties of different DNA. And so throughout her lifetime, she has been integrating all of those various cultures' DNAs into her being. And then we're going to have Darryl Anka, who, of course, brings in Bashar, but he's going to be sharing with us some of his perspective about the hybridization program and hybrids. And then we're going to have another panel discussion. So we really have 2 weeks of lively activity, and we hope everybody will be joining us.
Yes, 2 days, and they could sign up at portaltoascension.org. That's next weekend, this coming week, tomorrow, actually, the 24th and 25th. So thank you, Sheila. It'll be a really great conference getting all these people together really in one place. So that's why so could you unshare your screen?
Sure.
And then I want to talk to Gita first and see what she has to say about, the hybridization program, being or star seeds, all that information that she has collected through her wisdom seeking and understanding here. I think I could do that for you if
Yeah.
let me just see that.
Stop the share. There we go.
Okay. Okay, great. So yeah, Gita, please. Oh wait, I have to stop sharing too. Okay, there. Hi, Gita. Thank you.
Hello. Hello,
Okay.
hello.
How yeah, maybe you could join us for the next conference or something. But
Sure. Yeah, I'd
tell
love
us,
to. Thank you.
what is this? What's your connection to the hybridization program and the star seeds? Yeah, tell us your perspective. And Justin, I also have to say, is my co-host, and jump in also whenever you want, Justin. So yeah, thanks. So yeah, go ahead, Gita.
So for me, when I was a child, I always had connections to the elemental realms and just the sense of knowing that there was something more. Always knowing that imagination was the key to everything, that there was a reason for things happening. But I didn't have any understanding or memory of extraterrestrials, except for knowing that the X-Files was a show that was existing. But it was like I had blinders on. And then in my early 20s, I began to meditate more regularly. And then I met a friend of mine who was deep down her own exploration. And I hung out with her one evening and I took one really good hit of marijuana. And it induced a vocal channeling state. Up to that point, I had absolutely no awareness that vocal channeling was a thing or a phenomenon. I had no understanding of any of this community or this realm of things. But I started speaking. And I also come from a background of theater. So my brain and my neurons have been wired to very much understand that it's a play, to be able to function, in a sense, in split mind frames. Even the best of actors retains the knowing that they're in a show. Even very, very far back in your brain, you know that you are on stage having an experience. And so my brain has been wired to have that level of understanding of being in an experience and also knowing that we are observing and that the experience is in us. So in that moment when I was channeling, I had this split awareness that I was speaking information. My friend, who was very much down her own experience at this point, knew what vocal channeling was and was there to hold space and ask questions, while I was receiving my own invitation and explanation of who the energy is, where they come from, that they would be, as I would understand it, extraterrestrials, that this is how they are making first contact with our society through this idea of vocal channeling, that I have an agreement. It would be time for me to begin the agreement if I'd like. That I would always have the ability to choose and re-choose and re-choose this experience. And the energy was so deeply loving and had a level of certainty of knowing the importance of imagination and the importance of understanding the play of things. It was such a simple vibration to me that in that moment I was like, oh, yeah. Sure, sign me up. I'm good. And then I came out of the channeling state and my friend said to me, so that's called vocal channeling. That's a thing. That's a phenomenon. And you had a very particular energy and the information coming through was very specific. I recommend to you, if you like, to go and check out Bashar, channeled by Darryl Anka. And I always like to state for the record, I am in no way officially affiliated with Bashar Communications in terms of our businesses and our respective channelings. I'm very grateful for what they have done for our community, Darryl and April. But I always like to state that I'm not officially affiliated with the business aspect of it. In terms of soul family or soul connections, that's a whole kind of different story. But, Alan's like jumping through realities over here. Wow.
I'm just going to get a good background. No, I didn't mean to do that.
That's fun. No, it's
what
cool.
kind of information do you get when you go into that state? Just curious.
Most of what Bella brings through is a further understanding of the existence, the structure of existence itself, and how we can continue to fully know that, to know the operating mechanics of what it is we are creating, so that we are able to slow down our moment-to-moment experience, to be able to be very aware of what it is we are feeling, to be able to know why we are feeling those things, being able to look at belief systems to understand why we are choosing to believe the things that we are believing, that then allow us to feel certain feelings, that then allow us to think certain thoughts, that then allow us to create specific actions. Most of what she does is very pragmatic based, and that's really what I've learned through my experiences. All of these details and all of the, never to demean anyone's experience in terms of being sliced with the grays or 7 different strands of DNA or whatever the details are within the story. It's not the story that is important. It's what we do with the story. It's what we do with the information. And in my understanding, the entire monomyth that we've created in terms of the cycling of hybridization, because human is hybrid. Again, not to force a particular story on anyone, but from my experiences, human is hybrid. And as I come to understand it, that's what the human race is. So really everyone is a star seed. Everyone who's human is a hybrid. It's what we are. And it's being able to utilize the symbolism, the allegory, and the archetypal information in a way that arises a common understanding within us of themes. So a lot of what I receive and a lot of what Bella does is aiding people to look at their own story, to look at collective stories, collective narratives from a different side of the crystal, right? Because it's all one moment that we're seeing from infinite facets, right? So if we tilt it this way, or this way, or this way, or this way, we might then have a deeper understanding of how we can utilize, again, the theme or the story for us to essentially just lead happier lives in the moment. And being in the formula, right? Being the form that we love, being the pathway of our passion, the equation of our excitement, to follow those joys in each and every little moment without the insistence or assumption that it's going to lead to a certain thing, and then being in that integrative state. Most of what I do is really a new variation on the themes that have already been brought through from many different channels. And something that I personally feel is really interesting that I use a lot in my own integration of things is even just the idea of hybridization itself as a story is, perhaps in our case, is something that we would define and understand as terrestrial and alien. And blending together, taking two polarities or taking duality and blending it together to then find a new trinity point, to be the third embodiment of it, to be in that precision point of paradox, to be the trinity itself. And we can see this idea of contrast and duality expressing itself in most things in our reality, because that's what the all that is doing. The all that is needs to have a certain identification of self and then an experience with alien to be able to have some type of hybrid communication that then creates a new third perspective. So me and how I utilize this information and how Bella and I are specifically geared, I might say, is to always bring it back to the idea of how we can utilize the themes and the allegory, how we can find things that continue to unite us as a race, rather than adding into confusion or perhaps misinterpretation of metaphysics that continue to keep us in these different cycles of kind of spinning our wheels. She and I are always going to look for the root of again, the story or the theme, and how we can continue to be what human is. Yeah. So
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, hang in there. And then Marina, do you want to jump in and sort of say what you feel this whole hybrid process is about and how humans are evolving, and then whatever else you coming to you because you're connected to whatever is out there. Okay.
Yes, so for me, it's really connects a lot with the story of the Anunnaki and the future hybrids that there will be on Earth. I have come to understand that whenever there's a cycle of energy, just like an oscillation, the first, the positive polarity or the oscillation that goes up, it's kind of like a question, and then the other one represents the answer. So for me, I always experience that whenever somebody projects their spiritual energy forward in the direction of becoming hybrid or part of the sixth hybrid race, they're informing themselves of the ancient hybridization programs that started back when humanity was created, which is the Anunnaki. So to become the hybrid race that we have been talking about, like the cis hybrid race, we are starting to inform ourselves massively of the ancient wisdom and the ancient codes and the ancient intelligence of the Anunnaki, because that's the question, that's the oscillation that goes up, and the hybrid will be kind of like the answer. So if you put yourself into that direction, you're going to have to deal with much of it. And part of the history about it is that there is a lot of things, polarity, duality plays to overcome and to integrate to become that. Because without that polarity play, we wouldn't have been able to move ourselves forward to embody that consciousness of the fourth density of what it means to be a hybrid and to be fully aware of that third element of polarity, which is integration and neutrality in a sense, but without losing emotion. So for me, it's how I observe the starseed phenomena, and I see how that started in history after the Anunnaki started with their first civilization with the Sumerian and the Mesopotamian. The starseed phenomenology started back in Atlantis and Lemuria, when the hypersapient beings came here and start to inform the genetics matrix of the earth about their own DNA, about the seraphim codes or the angelic frequencies. That is a really specific domain of Christ consciousness and all of the other codes of, light and wisdom. So in Atlantis, that process of really becoming like the hybrids or the new humans started, because they understood that the Anunnaki themselves had a lot of polarity and karmic energies, and they observed this as an opportunity to grow and to help the galaxy, because they don't just think about their own planetary consciousness or star systems. They see themselves as part of the whole galaxy, and so they understand that such a story going on there that is also really connected with many other star systems because of their own history. It's so important for the whole evolution of the galaxy. So, many of the genetics that the ancient or us humans had to reprogram was the Nephilim DNA, which is what we have been calling in history, in extraterrestrial history, as like the fallen angels, the Elohim and all of this. So those are the genetics that are more connected to this polarity consciousness or third dimensional polarity, exploration of consciousness. And that's why there was a lot of consciousness and a lot of awareness of polarity dynamics in Hermetic history, in the Hermetic societies that were really connected back to Sumeria. So when Project Starseed started, we kind of like these souls or these civilizations agreed to bring here and ground to this matrix, to this planetary consciousness, these new codes of light, of new earth wisdom, So how we structure ourselves is in a really perfect dynamic or perfect orchestration, because first we will have the indigo children. We will be kind of like the revolution, but even inside the collective of the indigo children, there will be some who will be having different tasks. There are some who are the indigo type 1s, the indigo type 2s, and the indigo type 3. The indigo type 3s are the ones who connect more with the idea of the Nephilim DNA that I was talking about, to reprogram that ancient Anunnaki polarity energy. So they are the ones who have it more tough. They are the ones who have more fight with the dark, but they are really strong souls. So they are coming here to really make the whole massive integration of extreme polarities. That's why you will see some starseeds having like a lot of terrible traumatic stories. You know, most of us have had many negative experiences like that, because we're here to reprogram that, you know, and integrate it so that we can receive and activate those codons of the DNA that represent more of the angelic and the angelic consciousness. So yes.
Yeah, no, go continue. I mean,
yeah, sure.
I do have to say, I don't know how you know so much at 21 years old, but I guess you're ageless, actually. I can't say you're 21 because you
sure,
are.
I mean, it's kind of like a download, you know. I was told that because I was meant to, you know, like go fast. So basically, yes, that's the part. That's the kind of like the task for the indigo type 3. And
which you are. You're an indigo type 3, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
And this is just not this whole of like contact with polarity or contact with the Nephilim DNA, Elohim fallen angel DNA. It's not just on one lifetime. You know, that's the surprise, that many people think that starseeds are all, you know, created in every incarnation. They're all angels and innocent and pure. And the point is that many starseeds actually have chosen to explore some lives in secret societies or in occult societies, or as martyrs or people who will commit crimes, because we needed to get in touch with the polarity energies. We needed to get in touch with that DNA, so that in this life, in which we know that it is the age of transformation, we will make conscious connections through our higher mind to these lifetimes. And at being multidimensional connected to these lifetimes, we will be able to inform ourselves of those energies and to choose one side of the equation or another, either the victim or the abuser this time, to integrate it, you know. And the whole thing that I was told is that if you're a victim, you are in the non-divine feminine, which is, you know, suppression, victimacy, and you need the positive divine masculine to integrate it, which is empowerment. And in the other side of the equation, if you become the abuser, which is the negative like version of like masculinity, the non-divine masculine, you need the positive divine feminine perspective, which is the forgiveness, you know, innocent, returning to innocence, so that we get to integrate the divine feminine and divine masculine. And this has to happen at the same time, either from one polarity or another. So the point is that we starseeds, yes, we are portrayed in New Age as, you know, like angels and innocent beings. And it's true, because we come with that purpose, with that energy, with that spiritual higher consciousness. But we have chosen many times to explore trauma or being the abuser in other timelines because it was necessary. But those are most like the energies and the dynamics going on in the indigo. The crystal will represent now a new different brand of energy, of spiritual projection, which will be the more of a calm, more creative, not so revolutionary, more creative energy, which will be infusing more of the crystalline energy, the Chris consciousness. That's why they're less, you know, stubborn, less like crazy, like less polarity oriented. And then we'll have many other branches, such as like the rainbows and everything. But at this whole thing of like the hybrid programs and the hybridization process is like a collective process. This is not just acquired to starseeds, because the starseeds, we all have extraterrestrial DNA, as Gita said. We are all starseeds in a sense, but the kind of starseeds that the New Age has been referring to so much is the ones, the souls and the consciousness who will have chosen to have or to integrate or to express, let's say, more in their genetic matrix, in their genetic structure or makeup, more of the extraterrestrial cosmic DNA, because one of the missions that will be is to inform ourselves of those origins or those connections and start kind of like bringing here, you know, the consciousness and the energies, the high dimensional energies of those civilizations that know where to go to the light, know the path, and to recreate it so that we can bring that here to humanity.
Wow, thank you, Marina. What a game plan, late. Gita or Sheila or Justin, you have anything you want to add or comment or
No, I mean,
go ahead, Justin.
I mean, the idea. I mean, I haven't researched it so much. I've just in the discussions I've had with these ET beings through channels like Gita, Tyler, Vidika, from different civilizations, talking about the hybrid program. It's it's a very positive understanding of us unlocking our genetic codes, that it's our our natural lineage with these other beings, and as kind of a template to understand how we can live a different kind of reality than we thought we could live. And I feel like and maybe it's also kind of a permission slip to kind of say that it's inevitable that we're going to have these abilities, and humanity is shifting. It kind of allows us to just let the process go as it does, because it's in us already. Everything is unlocking, and I think the momentum is building inside and outside, physically, spiritually, and I think I do know that I guess what's kind of curious is this idea of the polarity aspect. I haven't had any interactions or anything with extraterrestrials that's been, I would term, negative, and it's a very interesting thing, because I think a lot of humanity has gone through that, and I'm just wondering, what the purpose of that is.
And I also want to ask Gita that similar question: has the Essassani transcended polarities as well when they got to this development of their hybridization?
Yeah, it's hers.
Yeah. The
Yaels.
Yeah, I mean the Yaels.
So the Sassani.
Sassani.
Essassani is the name of the planet. Sassani would be the name of the race.
Okay, thank you.
In my understanding, absolutely, the Sassani had, through their creation and through their cultivation of their race, have absolutely found a level of balance, polarity, and as well as the Yael. In my understanding, for sure. Yeah, they've attained that in their. I think sometimes, I will say, just fully from my perspective, sometimes the Sassani and at times the Yael do feel a little bit more masculine polarized to me, ever so slightly. But really, I've come to understand that everything that we are receiving from these races is a translation. Everything is a co-creation, is a simulacrum, is a rendering, is this Trinity experience. Any entity, any aspect of our higher self, anything is only sending information. It's only sending energy. The actual specifics of what we're getting, of what then our brain puts into words, of how we choose to define things, how we choose to have the levels of structure of the story, that's being passed through our belief systems, right? So we have to always maintain that awareness as we're continuing to have contact, that it's this co-creative experience that always is leading us right back into the self-reflection, self-contact understanding, so we can better know our belief systems. So I've always understood that in times when I felt honestly a little bit of frustration around the hybrids, when they're like, oh, you got in a car accident, how exciting. There's the part of you that's like, I don't want to swear, but like, dudes, F you. Like, that was scary. That was a tripped out experience. Like, you're not understanding the emotions, dudes. Like, Marina's laughing because but in my relationship with, again, utilizing the translation, I've come to be able to know those sensations and feelings to step into my own empowerment of being like, oh, okay, well, here's a permission slip. Here's an opportunity for me to understand my journey better, to understand their perspectives better, to be able to step into a new cycle of being my own teacher. And a lot of the times I think, again, the way that they choose to represent themselves, the way that they choose to kind of allow us to have our own translations is always there for our benefit. It's always aimed and very strategically done, I feel, from the hybrid's perspective, to make absolute 100% sure that we are gifted the greatest opportunity to be the best leaders and teachers for ourselves. And sometimes, you know, it comes through a little funhouse mirror-y. But I think that's the point of it. And they're very, again, from my experience, they're really good at what they do. They very much know what they're doing. And yeah, it's all aimed so that we can be our better teachers. So I think sometimes to answer your question again more directly, I think sometimes we might have the interpretation of them being fully enlightened, fully balanced. We also might have the interpretation of their things being a little questionable from their side of the prism. But all of that is then the opportunity for us to just really know what we believe, and again, to utilize all of those details as the activation of story.
Well, I think Sheila has a lot to add for this, because she's been through some quite intense trials and has discovered. So you want to talk about that a little bit, Sheila? Because it seems like you are.
Well, first off, I find this very exciting. And Gita, I loved what you said. Okay, so what do we do with all of that information? What do we do being hybrid? What do we do being a walk-in? And those were some of my very same questions. And I wrote a book, Walk-In's Cosmology of the Soul, that shared my story and 15 other stories, as well as the perspective from a lot of what we would consider, ufologists and people in the field of science and consciousness. And it was really exciting to me to find out that we all had our own piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And after the book was written, we decided to do the walk-in conference. And after the walk-in conference, we decided, okay, so now we're sharing these stories, but there has to be more than just these stories. And so we all came together and we united, and we formed what's called the WISH Alliance, which stands for Walk-Ins, Indigos, Starseeds, and Hybrids. But we work with dimensionals, we work with angelic beings, we work with crystal children, we work with everybody. And we're bringing everybody to the table so that we can share what it is that we actually are doing here on this planet. And together, I mean, we're all here. And this is an exciting time because I feel like we're kind of going full circle. You know, we forgot who we are. Now we're dropping into the essence of who we truly are. But what are we going to do with it? How are we going to change the world? And so as we have more of this energy coming into us, activating these light codes, activating our memory, then we are dropping more and more into our humanness, which is what Gita talks about, and how we're going to walk through that. But we're all coming together at this place in time. We've all had this agreement because together we are making this shift. And so for me, coming in as a walk-in, I didn't come from a specific planet. I came in from a collective, and it was the collective of my multidimensional self operating within that Christ consciousness. And so for me, that's what my mission is, helping people wake up, helping them to remember who they are. And once they do, it's like, okay, now let's get busy with your mission, because we're here for a reason. We're all here for a reason. So I went from being a very sick person. I went to bed with a very limited mindset. I woke up, felt like someone grabbed me by the hair of the head. Lightning ran through my body. I was instantly healed. But more importantly, that's when the new soul stepped in. The old soul went out. And so using and sharing that story with people allows the platform to talk about the awakening and to bring more and more people together. So I find this discussion very, very exciting. So thanks for including me, Alan.
I think also sort of some of those experiences that might not be so uplifting was something you experienced, so the new soul could then have a kind of evolutionary propulsion through the human domain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I came from, I was a very dysfunctional person. I had a very limited belief system. I was very ill, and no doubt it was because of my life choices, being in a dysfunctional marriage. I had a high profile job. I wasn't taking care of my body, my mind, or my spirit. And I just was in a place of being stuck. And there was a lot of trauma. Not from childhood, because apparently I think I had a great childhood. But when the walk-in came in and all of that was healed instantaneously, I had this new personality. Instantaneously, I had all of these memories, which today I'm still kind of sorting through some of the information that I came in with. I didn't believe in past lives, but then all of a sudden, I knew about past lives. I could remember the past lives of this body. And so, you know, it's kind of a shame in a way that the old soul didn't stick around for all of this, all of these changes that are taking place. But I know that there was an agreement on some level, and it was time for that soul to go ahead and go on and to move forward. But it's really been very, very exciting. My life is totally different. My children, everyone around me recognized, because of the total change of personality and all of the different conversations that I was having. People, sometimes they would start to back up. It's like, who are you? I'm like, I don't really know. But it took me a little while to kind of figure that out. So I feel like I have been guarded and guided and blessed my entire time being here.
Yeah, thank you, Sheila. Beautiful.
Thanks, Alan.
But I want to just ask Marina, everyone, just everybody, are we moving back past the duality, the time of duality? Will there still be duality? I mean, Bashar says, you know, last chance for density, but will there be a time? I guess there's always duality of experience, but I mean, we're moving into a new time. I think we can all agree about that. But what does that look like, Marina, for you? What does the new time mean and encompass?
Well, for me, what I understand is that it is okay if we still observe polarity, because just because we observe duality plays or polarity plays does not mean that we're not projecting forward to that path of integration. You know, because many times when I was informing myself a lot of the specific destiny that I personally wanted to achieve, which is the hybrid, you know, the hybrid of the new earth, of like hybrid consciousness becoming crystalline here. I was observing, then suddenly I had issues regarding with my connection to that future. You know, I had like negative belief systems and kind of like emotions, like negative things to overcome. And I was thinking, like, my first thought was, oh no, you know, I'm going kind of like backwards, you know. And my soul, my higher mind stepped in and said, no, there's no going backwards. You're projecting your energy, your soul energy, your spiritual energy towards this specific destiny, this specific future that you have chosen and you have kind of like claim that you want to be and become. So just because you observe polarity and dynamics of duality does not mean that you're going backwards. You're going forward, because that's the opportunity. When negative beliefs regarding that you want to project yourself forward kind of like arise within your consciousness, that's the opportunity. That's not kind of like the kind of like the oh, bye-bye, you know, like you haven't made it, you can't go forward. Like that's the opportunity, that's the way, because if you integrate those negative polarities, you actually become that. You actually become the integrated version of that. So you embody it and you are there. But it is a path, you know, it's a journey. So of course you'll feel many times like it takes time, and many times you'll be like, I cannot make this, this is so hard, blah, 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 you know. It goes like that. But as long as you know where you are, your soul, and know where you want to go. Your soul and your higher mind will always, always, always inform you of that, what you need to know and what you need to experience with it, whether it's negative or positive, to be able to get where you want to go.
Thank you. Beautiful. Gita or Justin, anybody have?
I think that we're going to have duality. I mean, in polarity. It's just, I think a lot of these ET communications, which I've had, they've often pointed out that they're living with that as well, but they just don't choose what, you know, they always choose their preference. And so like they would never intentionally do something, you know, if it's so obvious what they don't want, that they will always follow their passion. You know, it's not even, it's not like with us, sometimes we're confused about, you know, do I really want this or not, you know? And I think that that's a lot of fear-based aspects to that. And so I think that, you know, there'll be a minimalization of, I think we're learning to deal with fear, to understand it as communication, as, you know, showing us, you know, something about what we believe is going on that's not necessarily true. And we're learning to understand that we're always getting impulses, inspiration, and we're how to integrate that, how to follow that. That's just how we can go through this maze of reality, of duality, is just trusting in that more than the man-made thought patterns that no longer serve humanity in the way they used to.
Yes, Gita. Yeah.
Yeah, and in my understanding of it, reality is actually a trinity. There's always the constant experience of duality or contrast or separation, and then there is the point of the observation of it, which then is in and of itself a trinity. And the hybrids have often said that a greater awareness leads to a greater awareness. We're always going to be able to see it, just to echo what Justin and Marina said, we're always going to be able to see it to some capacity, or to be able to understand it. And then more and more and more, it becomes the ingrained, honest response to choose one's preference and what frame of physical existence that we're focusing on. And I think more and more as a collective, we will, and those of us that resonate as walk-ins or starseeds, or whatever term is most relevant for us, those of us that are perhaps, as we've said before, on the leading crest of the wave, are cultivating an understanding again of the material, of the essence of the teachings of the structure of reality. And more and more and more, I really do think it's going to be in our own ways bringing through those understandings of that structure, and how to be able to, as Justin was saying as well, to be able to utilize fear, to be able to utilize things that may be very negative in their outright appearance, things that may also be dense, not necessarily negative, just denser, to always be able to find the lesson, the integration, to also echo what Marina was saying in a different way. And I think really more and more and more, it's going to lead us, especially those of us that have already been playing with these concepts, to be able to have that honest response when we get into a car accident. Oh, that was exciting. More and more and more, really being able to be in that state of preference, of how we're focusing on something, again, of being able to slow down the hamster wheel enough of the experience to realize that we have an opportunity in every moment. How do I respond to this? How do I choose to continue to channel myself, to allow my awareness of all of my shifting of souls, of beings, of perspectives, to be in this experience as I am further deepening into the knowing that I am in this experience. More and more, it's a neurological repatterning, I think, that's going to give us the opportunity to be able to integrate and transmute and transform any and every situation in our personal life. And then from there, within each individual's cultivation, again, of the understanding of the mechanics of things, and starting to, I think, find a new language as well, a language that can allow other individuals to not potentially get confused with a lot of the rhetoric, because I think a lot of people sometimes that come to me and Bella have a lot of questions of, what is my purpose? What is my mission? Or, oh, I've never had any of these kinds of experiences. How do I have more of these experiences? And for us, again, very individually in our own way, to know that it is the process of knowing ourselves very, very deeply, individually, that then allows us to know that everything is happening in the one moment, allows us to know that there is, again, a structure of reality, and then there is our linear illusion of it. And at times it's relevant for us to play within the linear construct of, for example, the idea of reincarnation. That's the illusion of it. It's not the structure of it. But for some individuals, it is beneficial for us to know that, oh, my soul has been here and then it's done this, and then to play again with the story of it and how we can extract that for learning. And then in other times, the understanding that it's all happening right now. And being able to be multidimensional enough to know that there is a structure of things, to know that then there is the illusion that can also be relevant, to be able to again, like I was saying, look at the prism on all these different directions, to know at times what is relevant to be able to embody for each individual, and perhaps how we can continue to clarify and simplify these metaphysical terms and the way that we talk about these ideas, the way that we talk about hybrids, the way that we talk about all of this kind of stuff, for a way that's easily understood and applicable for a wider range of people. And again, it's always the snake eating its tail. It's always going to go back to the more that we understand this, the more that we know the structure of existence itself, the more that we allow ourselves to, it always goes back to the formula, to being in that state of action and joy, that again is going to be able to remind us in every moment that essentially we have a choice. And then we also have the ability to observe ourselves, to ask ourselves why we are making those particular choices. So I'm kind of throwing a lot in there all at once.
I get that. And I like a lot of what you said, because in some of that, when we're just present, I think we can transcend duality, because duality is always a reflection on the past. But if you are present in every moment in the joy of whatever it is that's happening in the beingness of it, and this is, I feel, our evolution is to transcend the duality which has trapped humanity. And we have to just be so impeccable in ourselves that there's no regret about the past. And when you are fine-tuned to align with your soul, and we're all a work in progress, no matter what level and dimension we're on, but as we come to integrate the true essence of the being, there's no dual aspect of that. It's always, yes, alive potentiality in each moment. And it's like, no, why did that happen? It's because it is the unknown. It's the evolution interfacing with consciousness to take us into the next moment of excitement.
It's also a level 2 of understanding, again, the structure of existence, of understanding that we are not on a planet. We are not necessarily in an experience, that the planet is in us, that the experience is in us, and that we are only ever aligning with a frame of reality that's coming to us, through us, for us, from us. And yes, of course, sometimes it's not a completely one-to-one mirror. Sometimes it's being created from our unconscious beliefs, from different things that we haven't looked at. It's not always the full, oh, I manifested this, it's beautiful. It's understanding the mechanics and not picking, choosing when it is relevant for us to be, oh, I manifested this or
when you
not,
say
right?
when someone says that, there's still personality there, and and there's nothing wrong with personality, but it's like, and I also think it's not so much about understanding, it's about the peace that passes all understanding. You know, when you are in the moment of connection to reality as your soul essence, then it's like, it just kind of washes through you. It's like, it's the
Sure,
manifestation of the mind, of being, of all that is.
Sure, but it also, we, as in day-to-day life and day-to-day experience, again, the idea of, I mean, we all face so many challenges. We all face all of these different experiences, that there does need to be a level of a cognitive understanding, again, of the structure of what it is that we're creating in terms of aligning with something. And over practice and through time, we build new habits. We build the ability to respond to, again, as you were saying, not have regret, to not have the idea of, oh, I did something wrong, and then this happened to me. It's the opposite. We did everything right for it to happen. And it's, again, it's like, once you understand, once we begin to more so really, really understand that everything that I am seeing is there for some level of my learning, for some level of my benefit. And that's a full mind frame shift. And that's something that is going to reverberate out. And I fully understand what you're saying in terms of being the non-being and all.
If we can all get there, we will transform the paradigm of duality.
Sure, but I think that's quite 100 years off. And honestly,
no, I don't think it. Well, depends what your permission slip time frame says. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I like to think, but I know what you're saying. And yes, it is a work in progress. And
and just for me personally, I've always gotten a little, I suppose, lackluster when we start getting into these very kind of spiritual, philosophical, these different ways of saying things. For me and just how I function, I always go back to, what does that mean? How do we actually make that applicable? How is it helpful for me in my just day-to-day, moment-to-moment physical reality of being a human? And how can I run these understandings through in a way where I can potentially share something with someone who has no understanding of hybrids, who has no understanding of metaphysical concepts, none of this. Sometimes I feel we get, in ways, kind of almost caught in a cycle of verbose pontification, and we like lose a bit of what the actual message is of how to apply these actual techniques. It's kind of all that I'm saying. And sure, you know, if we all pop out of that at some point, but in my personal experience, that's going to be jumping a bit from A to Z. And there's a beautiful alphabet of understanding and exploration that I know for me, I'm excited to continue to go through, and to be able to unite as many of us in a new consensus reality as possible, as many of us on the same train as possible.
Well, what do you say, Marina, about the transcendence of duality, of that sort of back and forth motion, and as a new paradigm unfolds, that is just full of moment to moment revelation? That's how I see it. It's like the mind is taking in the unknown every second, and we are standing at the edge of a wave that is moving through eternity as the wind blows in our face, and the unfoldment of new possibilities are revealed moment to moment in the expansion, the ongoing expansion of consciousness that is always streaming, like we're streaming here. It's always streaming into the thought form realities of all sentient being. I mean, that's just, what do you think, Marina?
Well, I think that it is kind of like really revealing, you know, because to my understanding, what the hybrid frequency, what the hybrid energy, my own hybrid energy has taught me is that, you know, when we were not aware of the mechanisms of how reality works, of existence, and what is our purpose here as like, you know, existing and being just for the sake of being and exploring reality and exploring like our own existence. We were always victimized by our circumstances to the point that it wouldn't be exciting, because we will be like, I'm miserable, you know, I mean, this is meaningless. I have nothing to do with this. I'm only here to survive it. So we will always go forward with a survival mentality, which I have to overcome this, you know, the universe or whatever put this to me. I have to survive it, and that's it. And there's anything to it. There's no creative energy. There's no power behind. And all the opposite. When we have actually, when we have started to awake this ancient wisdom, this awareness of we as creators, we as creator mentality, we have actually realized that anything that comes to us is there for a reason. And not only that, that there's really a lot of spiritual energy behind it. And when we unlock that spiritual energy, that access to that spiritual energy, there's so much projection forward. There's so much meaningful experiences and meaningful energy, and so much meaningful reflection about who you truly are. And so it starts reflecting back to you many things of the things that makes the whole holistic and total idea of who you truly are, to a point in which you're actually excited. That's why I was laughing a lot when I will hear Gita Rose talk about that with the hybrids, because I had a really symbolic experience that is really kind of like small, but it was really meaningful to me, because I was on the snow in Madrid, and I was kind of like in a park, and I was hanging out with a friend, and I remember that we wanted to go to a place, and so there was two paths, one which will be the easy one in which everybody will go, and another one which will be like the hard, you know, like the tough path. Like, it was obscure, it was kind of like in total darkness, there was kind of like branches, so it was kind of like a little bit you know, spooky. And prior to that experience, I actually asked myself, why do I always experience negative things? Why do I always put myself into this situation? Higher mind, please stop it, you know, stop being dramatic. So when I was choosing either that path or the spooky one, my soul said, oh, I want to go to this path. And I want to kind of like, it's so exciting. And at that moment, my higher mind came forward and said, look, this is who you are. This is what you actually prefer. You're kind of like a warrior, but not in the sense of dramatism, like the past, you know, warrior energy that we have been exploring, you know, all these years, all these centuries, you know, the new kind of like warriorness in the sense of like being actually excited to overcome challenges. So this is like the hybrid consciousness actually teaching us a new way to explore polarity. It doesn't have to be anymore the complete drama, complete beating from complete miserableness that we put ourselves, you know, in the past. It can actually be exciting. And if we add that element of excitement, it's actually much, much, much easier to overcome it, to a point in which we're actually playing. We're not surviving, we're playing. And it really enriches your soul. Because anytime I have put, you know, attention to the symbols that they were used on those negative experiences or challenges, the ideas that reflected back to me who I truly am, it made me feel so empowered that not even like a ton of like thousands of money could actually be equal to that. You know, it was so abundant. So it actually reaches your soul a lot. So it's exciting. It's a new way to explore polarity, just not the ancient one, the old one, you know, the old paradigm. Is a hybrid way.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yes. Sheila, what do you think? Or Justin?
One of the things after coming in and learning a new way of being, learning how to rewire the thought processes, learning how to change all of the old behaviors into new and do all of the cellular clearing. My guides, my higher self, my internal self, it was all so clear that everything that I was doing, I was making complicated. Everything is so simple. We are souls in a body having a human experience, period, end of story. And as things come to us, as long as we can remember who we are and operate from that place of heart, for me, the duality comes with the struggle from the mind and the heart. Do we operate from the place of mind, which gives us so many choices, which takes us down so many different paths, or do we reconcile that knowledge and drop into the heart? So for me, everything was about choices. And as I began to learn that, then I was also lucky in that when I came in, I didn't have any of the old person's trauma drama. I don't feel the guilt, shame. I don't, it's not like that I don't understand the right and the wrong. Of course, there is. But for me, it's, dropping into that essence. And if you're always operating from the place of heart, if you're being true to who you truly are, then you don't have the guilt and you don't have the shame and you don't have the blame, because you're operating from the place of, true soul and from that place of spirit, that place of creator within.
Beautiful. Actually, I just have to say, I have to go for an appointment, but Justin, why don't you keep the conversation about everyone, just because it's good.
You're leaving, Alan, or?
Well, I just have to step back. I had this appointment. That's why I wanted to start early. But
okay, I probably have to wrap up as well. Or maybe I would like to say that everything that's been mentioned is amazing in this idea about duality.
Well, why doesn't everyone wrap up, and then I'm just going to take off, but whenever you want. And okay. Sheila, do you want to keep the conversation going as long as you want? I'll make you the host.
Okay, sure.
And then you can just end the conversation, because I think it's so valuable, all the subtle points of metaphysics, soul awareness, and this point of evolution, where how do we know which way to go? How do we know who we are? How do we understand the human dimension in this metaphysical interdimensionality and bring it all together? But yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Justin. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's getting a bit late over here too in Germany. So I kind of locked my girlfriend out, so
little duality there, Justin.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted just one point that what Sheila was mentioning, the idea of, although you're revisiting your past ideas and you actually can't use the term right and wrong in some perspective, I think we have to be kind of gentle about that there is no real right and wrong. Right. I mean, from a perspective where you were, you couldn't know, it was certain things. It just wasn't impossible. So, of course, this idea of not having that guilt and shame and this guilt and shame stuff, which, I think a lot of us are going through that right now with this energies, it doesn't even make any sense, where things are coming up where, like, why would I even be ashamed of that? That's not part of my biography even, and I feel like this is, I mean, we intentionally wanted to have these experiences and to weight us down. And I think to get the feeling of just releasing them afterwards, and just the idea of letting it go and just like shooting off into new creative endeavors, because it's like the one thing that keeps us back is, it seems like it's that hamster wheel of doubt and regret and shame and worried about what the people think. That's the big one. I mean, like, we put ourselves into a game of constantly thinking what other people are thinking. And that's the biggest I think hindrance for a lot of us, is like, not ourselves even knowing what we represent or believe, because we're always thinking about what do the other people think? What does my mom think? What is and that's, I think that's really anchored us into a situation. But now we can just like release it. We're giving ourselves permission just to like, oh, this is a game. This is really, it's nothing serious going on here. I mean, this is, we live forever. And the idea is that I think also another point is that forms are, the attachment to forms and just accepting that change is we have to go with the flow. It's literally just like a stream of water, and we have to, in order to enjoy this process, you know, we can't hold on to concepts of who we think we are even, you know. It's just the biggest one is, you know, what does it even mean to be God? You know, even like, does it make sense to a human, you know? But that's who we are.
Right. It's one of those cycles. The more you know that you don't know anything, you know. But since it sounds like we're all kind of running a little short on time, how about if we just kind of go around and give some final closing remarks to sort of wrap it up? Okay, Gita?
Sure. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me today. And thank you to Alan. It was lovely to meet you, and to Justin for inviting me. And it was lovely to meet you, and Marina to meet you in this version. And yeah, you know, for kind of final thoughts and wrapping up, I think because especially now where there's so many different voices within the spiritual community, and there's so many different levels of information and so many different ways that we can classify things, and again, almost kind of lose our way in the details. It really always goes back to, as you were saying, dropping into that heart space and knowing that each and every moment there is that choice to know ourselves anew, and to be able to continue to take the actions to the best of our ability of whatever we feel is the most indicative of our true selves. And part of the journey is, I think a lot of us forget sometimes, that the journey is the discovery of knowing ourselves. And it doesn't matter if you have this option or this option or this option and you don't know, right? Because a big part of what we're doing is moving through the conditioning of what we thought was our true self. And it's only by taking the action on whatever idea that feels the best and trusting that flow that we're going to get what we need, as long as we stay in that state of curiosity and maintaining that cultivation of the excited response, the integrative response, regardless of what occurs. That's how we maintain the flow of knowing who we are, and also too the fun and the nuance and the multi-layered of being in that state of flow, the pathway of passion, or the expression of our true self in every moment, is aligning with things that show us what is not part of our true self. And again, I think sometimes we forget that as well, right? And the other thing that I'll leave as well, that this has been something that Bella talks about a lot, that for me has been really useful, is the idea of emotions. That it's energy in motion. That, just I was saying before, that we are receiving energetic information downloads, and then it gets run through the filtration system of our brain, of our beliefs, and then we interpret it as a specific emotion. And when we, for instance, one that I've been working with myself very deeply, that Justin just brought up for us, is the idea of guilt or shame. Guilt has been a really big one for me. And if I'm able to interpret that energy in motion as guilt, it's because it's passing through different belief structures that are a denser belief structure that's in creating that interpretation. And then I have been more and more, through the guidance with the hybrids and my higher self, is led to understand there's always going to be a duality. At some level, there's always going to be some other opposite, some other, that's what's creating the tension of the excitement of the experience. So if there's guilt, there's also appreciation. And if I can feel any level of appreciation for my circumstances or experience, it's because there is, conversely, a very integrative belief that's creating the filtration for me to feel that same energy at the same time, simultaneously, hating myself to the depths of my being and feeling complete guilt, and then loving myself so fully, and my connection to source and my oneness and the wind in my hair and the appreciation, that I'm having simultaneous belief systems and that awareness, and then being able to essentially choose and focus on the translation of the energy that I prefer, and being able to function from the belief systems that I prefer. So just kind of sharing that for people listening as we're continuing to navigate, knowing what our purpose is, knowing how to better be ourselves, is being able to, utilize the translations to further know our beliefs, to keep setting our course in the direction that we most wish to go. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And hey, if folks want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. So I am on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram as Gita Rose. And then you can also go to gitarose.com if you like, and I book private sessions. So yeah,
Beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Great. Thanks. Hey, Justin.
Yeah, I have to say that I've interacted with Gita before on my podcast, The Channel Perspective, and the last time she brought through Bella, and that was a quite transformational process. Very brought focus on the emotions and the vibration. It was not such. It was definitely not so much in the head. It was more in the heart, and I felt that was very impactful. And I'm very appreciative, can only recommend it. And I'm not sure, Marina, you're also a channel, correct? You and I guess you also offer services, or?
Yes. It is not entities though. It is actually aspects of my higher consciousness that can come in any different kind of like star system origin energy, like, my Arcturian energy or Andromedan, but mostly it's hybrid energy, hybrid consciousness.
Cool. That's I think this is a wonderful service that you guys are offering, and gives a nice perspective. And as far as like in this the hybrid conference, I guess I think that it sounds like a great thing. I mean, I'm glad that Sheila, that you've organized it, and with Alan, I think it's and I like the fact that with the whole Zoom thing, how easy it is for people just to, will people be able to ask questions, or is it like?
Yes, actually, everyone will be speaking for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. And then we'll have questions people can type in. And then either Alan, myself, or Neil will read this, because everything that we're doing is in partnership with Portal to Ascension. And I have to say, Neil and Alan have been so phenomenal in getting the word out and letting people know that we have all of these different activities, and we have all these conferences, and the Starseed Conference that's coming up October 30th and 31st. And hopefully we'll be announcing some of our speakers at the hybrid conference. But I wanted to just real quick, I guess I need to share the screen. If I can do that real fast. Just give one more quick plug to the hybrid conference and to all the phenomenal speakers that we're going to have. And it's going to be very exciting also at the very end, because we'll be having the panel discussion. And Justin and Gita, you guys are welcome to join us also. Just, you can shoot me a text or let me know, email. They'll be this Saturday and Sunday, and our panel discussion on Saturday will start from 5 until 6, and we'll have panel discussion on Sunday from 4 until 5. This is all Pacific time. And so if you guys would like to join, just let me know, and we'd love to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So let me stop this share. And then also the other thing that I want to promote just real quick, if I can find that, is the Wish Alliance. And the Wish Alliance is a consortium of awakened beings that have come together to really help to promote each other. And so, if you've not checked us out, please do so. We have all of the events that's listed, our ambassadors, our alliance, we have meditations, we promote all the various YouTube channels. You can see we just have a wonderful collection of enlightened and awakened people who really are here to serve the planet and to get the message out there. And so I'll just scroll through this really quick. And I'm not going to linger really on any one person too much, but you can see all the variety of services because, Gita, as you very well said, okay, so this is all well and good, but what do we do with that? And so this is what a lot of the people are doing. They're providing these phenomenal services to be a benefit to humanity and to help people wake up. And, when you wake up, it's really helpful to have people there who've been there, done that, and who really have a strong essence about them that can kind of serve as a way shower. So anyway, check out the Wish Alliance. If you have not signed up for our free events that we have every Thursday and second Monday, you can do so on our contact section, and that will come to me and I'll get you signed up. The only thing is, just know you're going to be getting weekly emails. So, just realize there'll be a plethora of information coming through, but you can also then check it out on the events. But Marina, I was just wondering, do you have anything that you kind of want to bring through to sort of close us out? Any type of a message from your higher self?
Yeah, actually, I first and foremost wanted to thank you all for being here and having me here. I love to join these conversations and I love everything that you share. I resonate with all of you. And secondly, I was actually receiving message from my higher mind, and I was actually connecting to the idea that it is really important right now to connect with our own nature and to live this whole process as a natural thing, because sometimes we struggle ourselves and sometimes we take a lot of struggle in kind of how to overcome challenges, what we need to do, and we put a lot of energy in the sense of external, not so much internal. And I was just meditating about it, and it is all about being natural. When something looks like it is so extremely hard and so complicated, it's because in fact it is much easier and simpler than we think it is, because the universe or our higher mind will put us challenges that can be a little bit complex sometimes, or a little bit tough, because we need to learn what it is to be in a tough situation, what it is the emotion behind it, to strengthen our DNA, to strengthen our spirit. But it also will never put us in a situation that it will take so much energy. So when something is taking us so much energy, it's because in fact it's telling us that it takes much less energy than we think you need, because it's simple. It's kind of about letting go of resistance and becoming more fluid, becoming more bliss, So actually going back and be as most natural as we can, and be as much easygoing as we can, it's the way to get actually to our nature. So, we have to just be ourselves. We have to just be for the sake of being, feel for the sake of feeling, and thinking for the sake of thinking. It's all about just being. It's that easy as just being, The rest of the things and everything is just blah, 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 But it really is.
Make it hard.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Awesome. Beautiful. Okay, Justin.
Yeah,
give you the final word here.
Wonderful. I'm very appreciative of all of you, Marina, Sheila, Gita, for taking the time. I think it's I have to watch this all again to get everything out of it. But in the flow, I really like this discussion that Alan had with Gita at one point, where this was a very interesting point that I think about the idea of duality, and I'm gonna check that out again. And I don't know if anybody's been watching the chat. Did anybody pose any questions during the chat? I guess we don't even bother looking at that. But I guess that's it's too late now anyways. I do have to slowly head out, and yeah, I thank you all, and I wish you a good night from over here. I guess over there it's but Marina, you're also going to bed soon, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's also past your bedtime, right? It's almost 10 o'clock here, but yeah, thank you guys and gals. Alan's not here anymore, and yeah, I guess
We will telepathically send it to
yes, I see. I mean, I see his emblem there. He's like still like, I guess, in spirit here, but and, yeah. So thanks once again, and maybe I'll see you at the conference at some point tomorrow, or on Sunday probably in the evening. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Oh, thanks so much, everybody. And I guess this is farewell. See you at the hybrid conference.
Thank you. Have a beautiful
Thank
day.
you.